Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'll take a salad.
I forgot what station I was on. Hey, Ken.
Yeah, Brother Dan Mandis.
So, I hear that Kamala Harris has she backed out of the Fox News
She
debate?
has, Brother Dan. Former President Trump says on Truth Social that she has turned him down. The challenge to debate on Fox.
We call Kamala Harris. Well, we call Kamala Chicken Harris. That's what we call Kamala. AJ Haust is joining us on the Newsmaker hotline on WTN. Hello, EJ. How are you?
Good morning. Doing okay?
So
I'm exhausted, actually, after staying up well into the wee morning hours to watch.
So did you watch the DNC live last night?
I did. Yes.
Wow.
The whole thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what did you think?
Boring. Isn't that awful? Very angry, even though they're telling us it's joyful. Literally every single speech, from the very first one that went out there, all the union speakers, all of the representatives and senators that came out to speak, every single one was angry in some way. At the same time, they were telling us, and all the pundits, on CNN and MSNBC were trying to tell us how joyful it was. Even the people in the gallery or the audience there, they didn't seem like it was particularly joyful until a couple of things happened. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez seemed to get a pretty good rise out of the crowd. People were happy there. Hillary Clinton. What's funny about that is, we've already forgotten Hillary Clinton even spoke last night. Nobody's talking about her speech,
Yeah.
It was overall, I think, ineffective and pretty boring.
One of the things that I think, and I played some audio earlier from Chris Coons. I'm not going to bore the audience with it again, but you probably remember where he was trying to get the crowd to chant, "We love Joe."
Yeah.
And it was like, come on, man, Democrats, this is what you do. You chant. You take your little drums and you chant. And nobody was buying it.
Yeah, but almost none of the chants really worked. I don't know if you saw Nancy Pelosi was holding a sign and trying to say, "We love Joe."
Yeah.
And even he couldn't do it. It was very awkward. I think the energy in the room was very low. Clearly pumped in some crowd noise when Kamala Harris took the stage. Her mic wasn't quite working right, and that's a telltale sign if you've ever done a big events like this, when they're trying to pump in other noise and things like that. So I felt like it was all staged, kind of like everything is with these people, though, right? Everything is staged and fake, I guess. It's not just that it's a production. It's that it's very fake.
I think we call that all hat, no cattle. I think that's what some people say. So, no substance, because it was a lot of people are making a big deal about how there's so much talk about abortion. And that's one of the things that I've sort of honed in on this morning, is that it's one thing to, be pro-choice or pro-life, but I mean, they really were celebrating it to the point where, if you've been listening, they pushed Joe Biden and his speech out of prime time on the on the East Coast. And so we were debating earlier, EJ, about whether or not that was intentional.
I think probably it was. They probably learned from Donald Trump actually being so late on his speech that the pundits didn't have time, or if they did have time to talk afterwards, that there wasn't much audience. There wasn't much of an audience listening to that because everybody was exhausted. Just go to bed. I saw the whole thing, right? So I think that's part of it. I do think the abortion stuff came later in the evening for the most part. So I do think a lot of people probably chimed out. I mean, it was very boring. And so I think it'll be interesting to see where the ratings are and when people stopped watching. But I'll bet you not as many people saw it as you think. The other thing with the abortions and the celebrating, so I did find it interesting. One of the things that Hillary Clinton mentioned was how important families are to Kamala Harris. She was trying to make the case that Kamala Harris cares about kids and families. And I found that incredibly ironic, given the fact that there are mobile abortion vans outside the room where she was speaking. Horrifying. Right? If you truly cared about families, that's not how you do it. They do celebrate this, and it's really disgusting. Two things on that as a follow-up, because I've talked about it on X quite a bit. One is that, yes, the abortion vans are doing procedures of some kind. So it could just be the pill or something like that, right? And so far, they're boasting that they've done 10 so far. That was this morning. And then the other thing I will say is that I'm hearing now, and so I'd like everybody to kind of keep an eye on it and see if they dare do this, but I'm hearing that there will be live abortions on stage.
Oh,
and so
no.
That beyond the pale of disgusting. I'm hoping that we can create such a buzz around that being just inappropriate, disgusting, really vile. I mean,
there's no way. I cannot imagine they would be. So from a political standpoint, you know what? If that's what they want to focus on and do that on stage, if you want to see the American people repulsed, then they go right on ahead and do that. But as a human being, I can't imagine that. I hope they don't do that. That is just terrible.
I think they would go with, and it could be, again, it could be completely fake. Remember how they do things. I would think that it would just be a bunch of women taking a pill the morning after pill or something like that, and they're going to say it was a live abortion on stage. But I am hoping that everybody can make a big enough deal about that being so incredibly disgusting that it just doesn't happen.
There was a moment last night, EJ, I want to get your opinion on it, where SEIU, I guess she's the president, woman named April Verrett, had this to say about the unions.
And we are going to build a younger, darker, hipper, fresher, sneaker-wearing labor movement. A movement that is going to be more inclusive and built for the middle class. And we are going to end poverty wage work for once and for all.
So that was, again, the SEIU president. And, you heard that's sort of like, as we like to say in the business, the money quote. And she was just, putting aside just the substance of what she said, she was just incredibly shrill.
And I am the president of SEIU, representing 2 million service and care workers.
That Lord, man. I mean, earlier I was playing a sound effect of glass shattering because that's what she sounds like. But the substance of what she said.
So joyful, isn't it?
Boy, it sure is. I got to tell you. Donald Trump's tax cuts, which Kamala Harris wants to eliminate, has done a heck of a lot for the middle class. And that has nothing to do with union members. That has to do with all Americans.
Sure. These are the same people who are telling you we have to do this and we have to get Kamala into the White House so that she can change everything, right? At the same time, they're telling us how great Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are, right? And how take this April woman, for an example. Every union member or leader that got up there last night said the same thing, how great they are and how important they are. But at the same time, we have to change everything because it's not good enough, right? So they're trying to walk this line. It's very odd. Like, you're in power right now, president of whatever union. How about you do some things right now? Do it on your own. They don't. And it's the same thing with Joe and Kamala. Everybody's talking about how great Joe was all night long. He was so terrific. He was going to go down in history as this wonderful president. Meanwhile, you have 5 months left. Kamala, you're in office right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do whatever all of these, proposals you have. And we don't have to wait. And how dare you make us wait, quite honestly. Well, if you have the ability to do these things, do it right now.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're all very savvy here on Nashville's Morning News, and you, of course, and you're appearing on the show today, giving some really good political analysis. Let me ask you this question. Kamala Harris has decided that she will not be debating Donald Trump on Fox News. She's going to do the ones on the other network, apparently, but she will not be appearing on Fox News. So my question is this. Number one, how does Trump react to this? It seems like he is going to do some sort of a town hall. I think that's great. But I think that at some point, Kamala Harris has got to come up with some policies that are actually reasonable. You talked about a lack of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. I believe the reason for that is because her three biggest policy proposals, you had $25,000 for down payments for some Americans, paid for by all Americans and taxpayers, or at least those of us that pay taxes, government price controls, and stealing Trump's idea of no tax on tips. So I think swing and a miss for all three of what we know so far about her policy proposals. I think what's going to happen, EJ, and we'll wrap it up with this. I think what's going to happen is she's going to get a bump in polling, but then when it comes time for the debates, when it comes time for her interviews, and when it comes time for her to actually come up with a coherent policy, I think she's going to see a decline in the polling. I hope, if the American people are paying attention and they're not just, inflicted with, Trump is mean syndrome.
I agree. I think if Trump is smart, he will ask her questions in the debate so that she feels compelled to answer them off the cuff, because I think she will be given every question. And I think she is going to have very rehearsed answers like she kind of does for everything. So it would be good if Trump could get her off script. And that might be the only way that it can knock her down enough that it can make a significant impact in the polls.
I asked Matthew Hurt this question earlier. I'm going to ask you the same thing. You guys are both far smarter than I am at politics. When you have Kamala Harris and you have government price controls and free money as your two big, everybody's been waiting for these policy proposals. And how does she feel? How is she going to fix the economy and so forth? And she throws down, in particular, government price controls that even CNN, even the Washington Post, even the New York Times has come out and said that is an asinine idea. Is she not clearing her ideas with the apparatus, the machine that is the Democrat Party?
I think the machine is potentially setting her up for these trial balloons to find out how far left they can go. And what that does to the base. I think if you look at the machine itself, like all the people around her, the important Obama holdovers, right? So Eric Holder had a big role in finding her VP choice. There's some talk about Rahm Emanuel coming back to the White House should she get in. So these are all the same people. This is basically Obama 2.0. So think about the most radical things that Obama wanted to do, but we were able to kind of stop, as a movement. Certainly Republican Party stopped some things. I wish they had stopped more. But I think they will continue to go left until they are right up into communism, which would make Tim Walz really, really happy. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're going to continue moving left. And I'll bet you the machine, the apparatus, all of those same people who were involved before are advising her on that.
All right, EJ, how can folks find you on Twitter?
Please go to the search bar and type in @ERINHAUST.